Are you ready?
Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well.
Welcome to the PP1 podcast.
The irony of the name of our show. You know,
Are you talking about Tucker Pullman?
Tucker Pullman, yeah, that's the irony right there. Like, what are we getting at here? What are we even doing? I changed it for you, Ted. I figured it out. It's threat level midnight.
Oh, I thought it said throat for a second. I was like, oh, Jesus.
Throat level midnight? Oh, geez.
That's your stripper name. There it is.
Yeah, I feel like we've had this conversation with someone else before. Oh, with
I think we
Joe.
did the stripper name. Yes, it might have been Joe.
Wow, full circle. Welcome to. Oh, geez, can you hear me? Hopefully.
Yeah,
Welcome to the Power Play One podcast, PP1 podcast for those in the know. I am your top left screen host, Ryan. Follow along with my bottom middle screen host, Teddy Wong the third. Actually, I haven't even met the other two, but I'm assuming there's three. He's assistant to the regional manager.
I mean, I barely met one of them, so
okay, but we can confirm this is a legit title. Like if you had it on your football jersey, it's legit.
Too legit.
To quit. Okay. And we found like a homeless guy, gave him a camera and a decently working microphone somehow.
Yeah.
Our boy Big Whit.
What up?
He's gone through some stuff. We'll get into that in a second. Welcome to the show, Whit. This is
Thanks, buddy.
People on Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. It's all about hockey, but we're going to talk about like some non-hockey things. But I guess I don't know.
It's our show. We talk about whatever we want.
We can do whatever we want. If you guys want to talk about Gilmore Girls for half an hour, let's do it. I don't care.
Sure.
Let's get into.
I'm so thrown off by Gilmore Girls, like just by how fast they spoke to one another.
So fast.
That's a thing, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I had a hard time.
That's the premise of the show, I think.
For fast talking.
I think that's like the big thing, because otherwise it's just like a show. It's just another show, I think.
Yeah,
anyway,
you gotta have your.
You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready. Yeah. What's on the show? If you guys want to come hang out, you can comment on our YouTube and Facebook channels. Apparently on Twitter now as well, on both mine and the PP1 podcast Twitter accounts. I'm not going to call it the new name. It's Twitter. Whit, first and foremost, welcome back, man. I mean, the last time we saw you,
formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. We dive off of it. You got a lot of hair, man.
Yeah, you're looking great.
Thank you.
Like it was weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like you, like, because knowing you and then just seeing like no facial hair and stuff, like it's a bit of a mind bender, that's for sure. But seeing you now, I'm just like, there's the Whit I remember.
Yeah. No, my daughter.
Who's in there? There you are, Peter.
Potato head all the time when she sees pictures of me back then. She's like, Dad, you were just a big potato head.
Or the magnet thing where you move like the magnet mustache and beard around.
Yeah, it's like I looked like you could move stuff around, you know. It's it wasn't fun, but you know.
Glue some Velcro on your face and just put whatever you want on there.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, actually. You should think about that next time.
I will, yeah.
You ever have to shave it all off and put it back
when
on?
it starts to come off, yeah. No,
yeah, exactly. So what's going on, man? Like it's been a minute.
Yeah, so I think last time we chatted with you boys, I don't know, was I finishing chemo or did I finish chemo?
I think you had like just wrapped up.
You were just done.
Yeah, around Mayish. Yeah, so I was just finished. I think I mentioned you boys. I was taking a trip out to the island, so went and did that for a couple of weeks, which was nice to
Vancouver Island.
Yeah,
get away.
It could be any island for all I know.
The rare case of getting chemo when you didn't necessarily need chemo, right? It was like
it was one of those ones where they said it was probably better to do it, than not,
pretty unprecedented, yeah.
So did it, killed it, not to be that guy, but nailed it.
Be that guy.
I'll be that guy,
be that guy.
Definitely not a Netflix episode.
Bask a little bit.
No, but you know what I mean? Like, I've heard so many crazy stories since I finished where, the guy's been doing chemo for 5 years, every Tuesday for 5 years. And I sit there and I go, like, I did it 5 days a week for 3 months. This guy's been doing it 52 weeks a year for, half a decade. So I think it doesn't matter what level you do it at, it's intense,
No kidding.
doesn't matter, 1 or 20, but so did that, traveled a little bit in the summer, kind of slowly got some health back, and then had a weird circumstances kind of fall into my lap with this documentary thing that I'm sure you guys have kind of heard of recently. So that story was just, I was kind of, my hair was finally all back, my beard was back. I was going to see my barber, got caught in a not an accident, but there was an accident at Winfield. So
it's just like at your barber, like we cut off a bit more than we thought.
Oh no, like I had this was like the first trim after like growing it for 3-4 months, right? So like it was like time to shape this and actually like make it look normal and decent, right?
Yeah.
And I was late for my appointment because of a traffic accident. So finally get there and she's chatting with this guy and I don't have a clue who he is, looks stoic and cool. So I just kind of sat down and waited. And then she's like, "Oh yeah, that's James Alton from Kelowna Film Studios." And I'm like, "Who? Like what?" And it was funny because I was chatting with my wife about, would that be crazy if we could like get the story out there and do like a documentary or something, like just to, whatever. Like it was small talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, my barber got me on the phone with him, and we had a short chat, and then had a coffee and applied for funding, and now we're doing this gala in February to raise money to get a trailer made and start going on this thing. So it's real, we're gonna.
This because this got postponed, right? There was an original date for this, I think. Has anything changed since that? And then I'll get you to talk about the
so this was meant to occur in December. It was kind of the barber's idea with some partnerships with other people, and I think just it was rushed a little bit, which was fine. I think we decided to do it kind of like mid-November, and we were trying
to capitalize. Yeah,
it's Christmas, but I think you got to keep in mind people are spending money on their own stuff for Christmas. So, yes, it's Christmas, the time of giving, but it is what it is. So made a decision to postpone it to essentially Valentine's Day. I think we're the day before Valentine's Day. And we moved it to Pretty Not Bad. So it's not at KFS anymore. It's going to actually be down on Clement there. They're letting us have the whole restaurant that night.
Cool.
So pretty substantial, that's a pretty decent sized restaurant, and
good spot too. Yeah,
decent. I haven't been there yet, but I've heard amazing things, and have had a couple of conversations with the owner and stuff, and they're rolling out the red carpet for us, which is really cool. They did. I guess what my guy was saying was that they do these events every couple of weeks, and they do like dueling chefs and all these cool things. For different organizations to raise money. And I guess he was saying a couple of weeks ago, they raised like almost $35,000 for Mamas for Mamas.
No kidding.
So awesome. I look at that and I go like, that's an organization that, constantly needs assistance, and that's massive for them. Right. So, are
you bringing the dueling chefs for this thing, or?
Apparently they're not booked that night. They're booked a couple days before, so we don't get to use them, but we might.
30K is still pretty good too.
It's very obviously you versus me, Ryan. They don't know that quite yet, but we're going to be there.
Okay.
Oh, I can't wait.
I just made tacos tonight. No knives were needed, so it's fine.
Hey,
he's great.
The pre-prepped vegetables, yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, attaboy.
No, come on. I'm not. Give me some credit, please.
Well, I don't know. You said you didn't use any knives, anyways. Sorry, Whit. More important things.
No, it's all good. So, events next month. Or sorry, next month. What is it? January now?
Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah, February 13th.
Next week.
Tickets are on sale on KelownaFilmStudios.com. Obviously, I think it's through Eventbrite, so it's like a link to a link.
Yes.
I think tickets are $95. There was gonna be 2 packages originally. Now they're just doing one basic one, so that we're all kind of there. Like I think they were trying to do like a VIP thing where they got to meet me and stuff, which didn't necessarily appeal to me or a lot of people. So
you're a VIP.
I'm not that famous, I mean. BMAC called me a local legend today on the radio. So,
well, you are local and a legend.
Recognized game, right?
Right. I was okay with that. But so that's what's going on with the documentary. So, any questions around that, boys?
Yeah, I think what's the process in getting a doc like that out? How many months of shooting happen? I know they spend a lot of time like on the cutting room. I guess lots of editing.
Yeah, it's I think what we were kind of ballparking is so we applied for funding through TELUS Originals, which is kind of how things get going up in Canada unless you got a massive budget. I think our budget was about $250,000, so we applied for that. So I mean, they're going to announce that at the end of January. So if we get that, we're off and running. But it's usually about a year of kind of acquiring funding, which is what we're in the process of doing now, and then about a year of shooting, production, and then a year of, like you said, cutting and editing, and then promotion. So we're looking at a 3 to 4 year timeline to kind of get this top to bottom finished.
Cool.
And that's if everything falls in line. I mean, if we don't get that funding, then it's slower. You have to create a trailer, do a Kickstarter,
do like a Blair Witch Project kind of thing.
Yeah, hopefully you get someone that gets interested.
Whit. I got dick cancer. I'm just gonna walking down the street. It's like, you could do that for free.
You could have the snot
Use
bubble.
your phone.
And
Yeah,
everything.
exactly.
Yeah.
Use this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
what I do.
right. So yeah, that's where that's process is right now. We're the process, I guess, of acquiring funding is what we're doing, spreading the word. Getting people to know the story a little bit. And just kind of going from there. Again, at the end of the day, I think I said this last time with you guys. It's awareness. That's all I'm doing this for. If we make some money, cool. But I'm just in it for the awareness part of things. I want to help people. That's what.
What about sponsors and things like that? Have you got any on there so far, or is that something that you're working towards?
I think that's what you work towards with the Kickstarter. Like I said, if we got that funding right off the bat, then we would start going and we'd be done. We would just move forward. We really wouldn't need a lot of funding, but if we don't, then this event coming up will kind of be the way to create a trailer, and then what we'll do is probably do a Kickstarter campaign of sorts, and then that's where you're going to kind of try to acquire funding in that sense. I'm new to it. I don't know how involved I'll be from that point on. I know I'm a producer, so at some point I'll get to do my thing, tell my story. But right now I'm kind of relying on James with Kelowna Film Studios to kind of navigate this. Because I still have to live my life. Normally, I can't just be like, oh, okay, I'm not going to work and focus on all this. I want to get my podcast still going. I've got this going on. I've got, my job at, in June, family stuff. You guys know what it's like, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of that, yeah.
Yeah. Golfing in the snow out in the backyard.
Hey, you know what? Someone's got to do it.
I'm going to say the way that you do that backhanded thing, it drives me nuts.
Okay,
It
so
drives everybody nuts.
we've had this conversation, and I've got, because obviously I make these clips, right? So when I watch it, not wearing snow gloves, but when I watch it during the spring and I see it, it to me, I recognize how messed up it looks.
Oh yeah,
because for me, I don't know any different. That's how I hit it. So when I'm watching it back, I'm like, that looks so ridiculous. And then I watch the ball. I'm like, it doesn't seem to
pitch.
Hey, it works for you.
Yeah,
that's like Phil Mickelson stuff. You know what I mean? Know.
Jim
It looks good. It's just you look like it looks uncomfortable for a righty.
Oh, it looks demented for sure. And yet, I laugh. I'm like, if there was a way for me to change it, I clearly would. I've tried hitting left-handed. I've tried hitting normal-handed, and if the ball would make it out of this room right now cleanly, I'd be thrilled. I'd end up damaging everything in this room.
I love that you just made what you have work for you, and that's super rad. How many times per post do people slide into your DMs with a what the fuck?
None.
Nobody chirps you on it?
No good, no bet. No good, no bet. I think I get Joshua Griffith actually hates the fact that I don't follow through on my chips. So I posted one where
little
actually
baby chips. You're not necessarily supposed to follow.
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm not crushing these. If I do, I'm gonna hit my neighbor's house. So. But even still, just the pendulum, the follow through. He's the only guy. So I actually made one clip where I did follow through, and it got with a foot with a pin. I'm like, that's for you. So I did actually make a special one just for him. So other than that, no, I'm not exactly. I'm local. I'm definitely not a legend. So it'd be nice if people popped in my DMs and thrashed me on it. But I'm not even getting that. So
wow. I mean, maybe you better start posting it on Twitter.
Yeah, I am. And maybe you're right. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's what I need to work on. Clearly, people aren't complaining about anything right now. Maybe I should just post a picture of me hitting a golf ball. Maybe that's the secret.
The Canucks are just playing too well for anybody to care about your weird swing.
Yeah.
We got to focus on more important things. Why hasn't Pettersson scored in 2 games? We might as well just call the season. It's over.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah. So again, this gala event.
Yep.
Because I guess I kind of misunderstood when I was seeing it. So this is more of just the the awareness thing. There's no video. Is there like some kind of a screening of some sort going on that?
No. We were hoping we could do something like that back before, but I mean, trailers at the very minimum are not cheap. We're hoping to raise about, I think the target number would be about 10K.
Right.
And that'll get the trailer made and like produced properly. So like
That'll
an actual full length trailer, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be months and months of work to get that done and like shoot it and decide and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, it was a full length trailer, and now you got to start the trailer over again.
Right.
But that's going to lead you to more funding, right? You want that 10K to just
I think so.
Going. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the Kickstarter, because then it's serious. Then you can start going to organizations. Then you can do lots of things. And, these are the type of stories that TELUS Originals focuses on. I mean, currently kind of their main focus, if you watch a lot of their documentaries, are like LGBTQ and like Aboriginal type stories.
Right.
But I think there's a facet, not necessarily with the Aboriginal side of things, but the LGBTQ stuff, as my wife's non-binary. So we can tie stuff in like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, going into kind of even what I talked about on the radio this morning with the intimacy, it's a different situation than you boys. You know what I mean? When you're not, working with all the equipment, you got to do stuff differently. You got to think of things differently, right? And that's another.
That's tough to do on its own.
It is, right? Exactly. But that's another thing. The story's not finished. I still have reconstruction coming up. Later at the end of the year too, which I think we touched a little bit on last time I was on, but we said that was kind of what we talked about on our update. And it's quite an extensive process. Not as hard as it would be if I was transitioning from, one gender to another.
Right.
Okay.
But, still have to have a fairly detailed surgery, removing tissue from an arm.
Right.
To create said phallus.
Yeah.
And then another surgery and then another surgery. So 3 surgeries. Probably, I think the first surgery I'm in hospital for about 6 weeks for recovery, because it's not as much what they've created, it's the arm. They take it right down almost to like the last layer of muscle, and then they actually have to put another layer of muscle. It's Integra's the medical term. It's pig skin, and they put pig skin over top, and then that has to essentially graft. And there's some pretty nasty looking photos online if you found some bad ones. I've got the top surgeon in BC that's working on this type of stuff. And
are there like infections and stuff that go with that as well?
Of course.
That's why they want to keep me. They said to me, you have to stay at VGH for 6 weeks.
And it's 6 weeks, Whit, because you're somewhat like immunocompromised after everything you just went through. Or is it 6 weeks because it's just a badass surgery?
I think it's they want to make sure, like, because they're not using actual tissue. Like I said, why
there's like rejection that could happen.
Yeah, I said, why can't I just come home and do wound care and Kelowna? And they said, well, they don't have this expertise working with Integra like we do.
Sure.
And I said, fair enough. So it's not like I'll be in a bed for 6 weeks. I'll probably be in a bed for a couple of days. But then it's just I've got to be maintained.
Kind of close to home.
And that's the first surgery?
That's the first surgery. Second surgery is an easy one. That's where they create the head, that commonly you'd see on a uncircumcised.
What do they do? Like, so without me knowing, do they just did they 3D print that thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, how do they do that?
No. So first surgery takes your arm tissue. Then the second surgery, they take a smaller piece of tissue off of your thigh, kind of near the back. It's like nice chunky meat back there, right? And they take that, and then that creates the head. So then, after, let's say 2-3-ish months, you actually have a normal looking penis. Weird. It's just, it doesn't have like the muscle that you would in a normal one. So, okay, how do you get an erection? How does that happen? The third surgery.
I mean, these are the questions obviously men would have. Like, what does it feel like? Like, are the sensations the same? Is like the sensitivity? Like, is it, what is it?
So it has tactile feeling. After that's done, they take, so one of the, I know this will be getting into.
They're connecting like nerve endings and stuff.
So one of the questions he asked me is, he says, can you still, I think I've talked with you guys about this, can you still get off? And I said, yes, I can. Like my surgeon essentially asks me if I could still, come. And I was like, yes, I can. And he said, okay, how do you do it? And I said, well, stimulation of the testicles. And he said, okay, that's great. He says, because that lets us know that there's certain nerve endings that are still connected, that are still working. And he's like, so what we would do is open you up, find them, and then connect them to this. And then
super easy to do, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it's probably like
super not detailed.
Monday to Friday, you probably take a lunch break, go grab a coffee, come back. Like I've done 3 of these today.
Yeah,
Super easy stuff.
So is this the
There's
same
no
thing
need to
as
book
like
months in advance.
is this the same thing as like people like losing a limb and then having like phantom pain and stuff like that of where like one's foot would be? It's the same idea.
Yeah, like I can still flex, I guess what you would refer to as a scrotum. Like I can still flex that like I would if I had something there. So he knows there's feeling there. And so what he says is like you won't have control of the phallus in that sense. Like I won't be able to like get a boner by myself.
Right.
But he's like, you'll be able to touch that after it heals and like feel it. Like you'll be able to actually like feel like you used to. Like that feeling will feel weird because it'll come back. You won't recognize it anymore. Right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's so it'll be kind of like it'll be an adaptation for me, right? Third surgery is where they install the what do they call it? Prosthesis. So they cut it open, they put a prosthesis in, and then it's a pump, a Nike pump, essentially. That's what he said, like the shoe.
Didn't
Like a
Reebok.
Reebok pump.
Yeah, sorry, Reebok, and it goes in my.
You might want to ask some more questions before that one. Like, listen,
It's
man.
a pump.
Yeah.
But he said it's
Are they going to install it on your tongue?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, it's so I guess with transgender people, they usually put it in the testicles because
Okay.
they create the testicles. With me, they would put it kind of like in my not abdomen, but kind of like the crease of like where your leg and your abdomen are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wild.
I would just pump 2 or 3 times, have a essentially an erection that can't go down unless I control it, and there's a second button you press that decompresses it.
You put
And it's
Viagra
like
out of business.
It's fluid based. It's like there's
It's
fluid
like
in it.
hydraulics.
Kind of, you can get this thing replaced if it ever fails. Probably not the funnest, so hopefully mine never fails. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in
wild.
terms of what I do. So I have to get electrolysis on that arm for about 7 months, so that there's no hair. And then
How are you like what's your mental state on all this? I know like I went in for another surgery, and I'm not comparing my situation to you, but I had a big surgery.
Yeah, massive
right?
surgery.
Like it was a hard surgery. I'm coming back in, and then I just had to go for a completely different surgery. And my mindset towards going in for this thing was like completely the opposite of any other surgery that I'd had, and I wanted no part of it. Like I was not great, but I mean, this is obviously something that's going to be like a big benefit for you down the road. So did you have to put like a mental block past that, or were you just like, yeah, let's do it, man?
I think, I mean, I talked about this in therapy, months and months ago, was like, I did something, or something was taken away from me, but I did something, with the chemo and the surgeries so that I could prolong my life and I could live, right? But it also took something away from me. So I'm not like contemplating getting a reconstruction because I need a dick. Like that's, I'm nearly 40. I've got 2 kids. Like I'm comfortable with my relationship with my wife. Like it's not like I need to pound that vagina or anything. Like it's nothing like that. It's I just need it back so I can have some like, I guess, completion. Like I won't feel like I'm a complete person again.
So that you're like all the way back.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Okay.
Like it's totally, like I said, full circle. If I, I'm still contemplating the surgery, so that's kind of where I'm maybe mentally kind of having a block a little bit, as I'm going like, well, do I want to like rip my arm apart? Like have this massive scar, so that I can have a penis. And what if we do that and then it fails? And I went to all this trouble and extent to have it not work out, So that's kind of where I'm at, but I think I'm more like a 80-20 on that. Like I want to do it. It's going to be about a year and a bit of work to kind of get there, multiple surgeries, time off work again. And then who knows if in the middle of all that, knock on wood, the cancer kind of rears its ugly head again. That's always a possibility too.
Right.
So yeah, it's one of those things where it's, I said to the documentary guy, I said, like, it's full circle. Like that would kind of end the story. And I said, it would be kind of perfect timing if I got the surgery in a year and we're starting to shoot. And then, we can actually go shoot down there.
Yeah.
And really, because I think this would be absolutely must see TV. Like if someone wanted to, if I saw this on Netflix, I'd watch it like 100%. I love those medical things, so, but yeah, it's just, again, that's kind of my side of things, me being kind of, what's the word? Not gracious, but, like wanting something for myself,
Right.
Again, at the end of the day, I think the documentary, I wanted to show my story and kind of what I've went through, but I also really, really want to touch on the cancer side of things and helping people and like breaking that stigma around, just health in general too. But there's a stigma around cancer that, until you've had it, you don't understand it. And
Right.
then once you sit with these people, 8 hours a day and you hear their stories and what they've had to deal with and what they go through, and you're just like, fuck, man, like, no wonder you don't want to talk about it,
Mhm.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm not trying to be selfish, but I think there are certain times where I'll be allowed to do that. I think I may have earned that a bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's human nature to kind of, you do want something for yourself.
Mhm.
I think that's fair. I mean, seems pretty fair to me. So
Yeah. I would say, I mean, it's a part of you, whether you thought it was it or not, or however comfortable you were before. And like you said, it was taken away, and now you have the opportunity to get it back. Right. I mean,
10 years ago, that wasn't I was reading some medical journals about it. And 10 years ago, it wasn't
even a thing.
It wasn't even a thing for transgender people back then.
Yeah.
Like, that's only really come as far as it has now. So, 10 years from now, hopefully it's a common surgery that, isn't a problem. Right now it's still fairly
3D
new.
printed, and they're like, yeah, we can have this done in a
and do whatever you want, not taking tissue off your arm. I would love that. So, but these are sacrifices. I was lucky that it wasn't an arm or a leg that, you can't really,
I mean, they did it in Westworld, so it can't be that hard.
If life was like Westworld, man.
Dude, if life was like Westworld, we'd all be freaking out right now. Like, forget about this show. We have way bigger problems than this.
Yeah. So other than that, boys, that's where I'm at. Surgery and the fundraiser, which hopefully gets going. So Maxine DeHart did a thing in her column a couple days ago.
Local paper, local celebrity.
Yeah, she's amazing. And then BMAC and Carly did a thing on the radio this morning, which will also air tomorrow morning at 6. And then I think they'll air it again sometime in February, kind of right before. But tickets are going fast already. We've already sold a shit ton of tickets. So
awesome.
It's going to sell out, and it's going to be a great night. And your boy's going to go buy a suit this week.
Whoa!
Going to look nice. Going to look snazzy.
Where can people find the tickets if they want to go access? You got a link that you can share?
Yeah, I will throw it up to you guys, but head over to KelownaFilmStudios.com. The minute you open that webpage, you will see the Penal Cancer fundraiser front page. It's front and center. And then click on that, and it'll direct you to how to purchase tickets.
Love it.
That's it.
If I can get there. Here we go. Watch this. We have the technology, and I know you got to go.
Yeah, I got hockey, boys.
Yeah. How great is that? When did you get back to playing hockey?
September, after the summer. Yeah. So that was I didn't play the whole year, and I was pretty stoked to get back.
And how great was that? It was just probably unreal, hey?
It was crazy. And I'm still getting there health-wise, but it's fun to get out there.
Oh, we don't need to know about that.
No.
This
there you go. Right there. Learn more.
Whoa.
And I think I'm not sure if he set it up yet, but I think they're going to link it to Eventbrite. So if it's not already, it will be.
There you go, folks.
Yep.
It's legit. We'll be sharing that after as well. Whit, I mean, great to see you, man. Like face to face anyway. I mean, we kind of connected a little bit through work before all this.
Yeah.
Just in our passings, but it's good to see you. Good to see man, that's a beard. That's a beard and a half.
So thick.
It's so thick and lustrous. You're reffing tonight, or are you playing?
Playing tonight. We don't start the ball hockey league doesn't start until mid-April.
The Rutland League?
No, the one that James, I'm sure James talked about it the other day on the podcast.
Yeah, the Rutland League,
Not the outdoor league. That one's done.
Right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, this is the serious one, boys. But I'll start reffing again in April. So can't wait for that too.
Good man.
Well, I mean, we'll love you here and we'll hate you somewhere else.
Yeah, probably. We all love the Canucks, though, right? So we're all good.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Come on.
That's fair. That's it. That is a good point. Whit, thanks for coming by, man. Always good to see you. We'll likely be catching up for another round somewhere. Not sure when, not sure how. But folks, go check out. We'll post a link a little bit later on as well after the show. Go play some hockey, man.
We should appreciate it. Get you and BMAC on at the same time, and we'll talk Canucks, and we'll have a little heyday.
Hell yeah! Let me know, and I will be there.
We want BMAC on again.
We do. We like BMAC.
I'm just kidding.
Get a couple of drinks in him, and then get him talking. He'll be fun.
There we go.
The curling team. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I'll talk to him.
Sounds good. Whit, go enjoy some hockey. Good to see you, man. We love you.
Awesome.
we'll keep everybody in the know. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, gents. Have a good night, eh?
Yeah, thanks for this.
Take it easy, bro.
See ya.
Man,
What a
he's good
champion.
people. He's good people. That's I mean, it's heavy stuff, obviously. We will talk about hockey, but it's heavy stuff, man. I mean, it's neat to have, and I talked to Whit about this many, many months ago when we were talking about having him on in an official capacity.
Yep.
I mean, our show, it reaches who it reaches. We're aware that we're in the middle of the group, and there's a lot of hockey podcasts, a lot of Canucks podcasts. But I think if like one person saw this and saw his other one and was like, hey, you know, this is something I wasn't aware of, or this is something I found out that I have, or what have you. I mean, one person, that's a win. That's a win.
You just never know who these platforms reach, right? I mean, we were on here, we were talking about heart stuff a little while back and on Twitter posting about heart stuff. And lo and behold, I met a great dude named Grant, who's, I feel like, a good buddy of mine now. And I feel like without having the opportunity to talk to him about somebody who'd been through a similar experience, I wouldn't be in as good as a spot as I am now, right? So you never know who's out there, who's listening, who's going to be able to help you, and who this message is going to reach, right? So yeah, Whit's right. You're right. This is a good thing. And I think I appreciate that we have whatever platform this is to be able to do something like that.
Can we just talk about our names for a second here? So I don't know how you decided to go with assistant to the regional manager, but I like where you're at. And I almost went with Dwiggett Schrute to start the show tonight, which also would have been another pseudo personality. And I thought, no, let's go threat level midnight. So for this show alone, I will be threat level midnight. You want to talk some Canucks?
I would love that. Yeah.
Some hockey. Before we get into all that, again,
talk about the wagon.
Yeah, we are brought to you on the Hockey Podcast Network, a menagerie of hockey podcasts. Go listen if you like hockey and you have ears and you like to listen about hockey stories. Check out the Hockey Podcast Network. There's going to be something there for you. Likely, we hope it's the Canucks, but if you happen to cheer for one of the other bozo teams in the NHL, there's a lot of podcasts that'll cover that. And then obviously DraftKings promo code THPN. I'll get to that in a minute. Ted, I've got a few things that I'd like to talk about before we truly get into the Canucks. First and foremost, now this is kind of funny. I wrote this in the rundown, and you're probably thinking, what is Ryan talking about? Size does matter, in case you're wondering.
Where are you going with this?
So my old cell phone, the charging, I got my new car in the summertime. It's new to me car. Yeah.
See how little this phone is?
Yeah. And for whatever reason, like my charger, the lighter connector and all that wasn't working, or so I thought. Tried plugging in, phone's not charging, this, that, and the other. So replaced the fuse a little while back. Still wasn't charging from the car. Had the big long cord here. See where I'm getting? Big long charging cord. Didn't work. And then I totally forgot that I had my little charger from Disneyland with like a little, just a little charge cord. Just a little nubbin. And I thought, I'm like, okay, haven't tried out my new phone yet. My new phone. Plug it in. Lo and behold, the small little nubbin charger got this baby charged up. So size does matter. In this case, something small was able to charge up my world. So,
And in the case of your phone and getting it all fixed up and getting a new one,
we have a different problem, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was a small problem in size that's caused a tremendous pain in my ass when having conversations with you. So whenever Ryan texts me, for some reason, he managed to separate his phone into an email account for his work email and a phone number that's been linked to him and I for
ever,
what, a dozen years now or more,
give or take. Yeah.
So yeah, Ryan, for whatever reason, is now on my phone as two people. So while Ryan is having a conversation from me, I'll be receiving texts from two different contacts, both listed under versions of Ryan. So I don't know who to respond to. I'll respond to one, and then he'll answer me in the other, and then I'll respond back in that one, and then I'll get another one back in the other text. And I got to tell you, between this and the other chats we're involved in, I don't know if I can speak to you anymore. We're going to have to just do straight phone calls.
And I would appreciate that. That actually would be growth in our relationship if we got to that point. I realized that my Apple Watch was still connected to my phone number. And when I set up my original work phone, I had to set up my Apple account through my work email, which was, in hindsight, a terrible idea because, well, this is one of the reasons. So anyway, when my SIM card decided, I don't know why we're talking about phones completely, but when eventually my phone just crapped out a week ago. And so I had to pull the SIM card out. But I still could text and do Wi-Fi. So that's when my work email came up. And then once it connected back, I'm responding to Ted. I think I was driving or something. I can't remember. And I'm, talking into my watch, as you can with an Apple Watch.
As one does.
As one does. And I'm realizing, so I'm sending these back and forth. I don't know. And all of a sudden, Ted calls me, he goes, "Hey, man, we got a problem." And he's explaining, I'm like, yeah, that is actually pretty messed up. I'm sorry. So who knew that we'd have to have like a tech summit for Ryan's phone conversations. One more thing, and then we're in hockey. So it's poured rain in the last week, thankfully, for the Okanagan, get rid of all these massive snow piles everywhere. And
oh yeah, because you're on a snowplow street. I forgot this.
Yeah, that's right. This high and mighty. I live up in where the royalty lives. And I've been thinking, and I'm sure this is a question that a lot of our listeners and viewers have over time. What is like the ideal windshield wiper speed? Because it's never perfect. You're either too much, not enough, none, middle, and middle's still too much. A little bit in the middle is too much or not enough. You're back and forth. There's I think unless you have brand new BMWs and Mercedes where they have sensors, where it's just it just wipes based on the water coming on your windshield. The rest of us have to suffer with a real world problem of the windshield wiper. Do you have a say in this at all?
Yeah, if it's winter and the roads are just soaked and wet and you're in back spray, it's intermittent too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's
if it's wet outside, then it's intermittent 1.
Okay.
If it's lightly misting rain coming down from the sky, it's intermittent.
Thank you. I think this was
a really easy question. I thought it was going to be a tough question.
Oh wow, way to flex on that. Way to go. I don't even know how to completely transition from that. I guess the only thing I could be shiny new toys. Canucks have new helmets. Let's roll with that for a second.
Yeah, ran a little poll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ran a little poll, had 101 votes on it, so not a tremendous amount, but enough of the sample size, I feel like, that makes the percentages true.
Mm-hmm.
So 22.8% feel that they like them.
Okay.
30.7% say that they hate them.
Okay, that's more.
And not my fave, but not bad, is 46.5%.
I voted in that category.
So had they won, I feel like the I hate them and I like them would be switched.
Probably, because I think there's still enough people that don't like them. On ice, it's when you see the first pitcher practice 2 days ago, I think they're okay.
The whites.
Yeah, I think that's what they would have to do is wear them with the whites because the blues do not match. It stands out. A lot of people
were saying that. Yeah, that they prefer with the white unis. I think people would like that.
I really wish someone had spoke up about that prior to those. We talk about the wait a sec guy. Jason Botchford would have been like, you guys. He would have brought up a wait a sec guy and maybe don't roll them out with the blues or wear a different jersey. Wear your whites at home for the next 2 games. Everyone will be okay with it. And I think we would have been okay with it. It would have made more sense. But whatever, they're helmets. If anybody was following Rob Fay in the last little bit, he was not a big fan of. He didn't care. He thought they looked pretty cool. I agree. I think they look pretty neat. But he goes, nope, don't mess with a good thing, and don't mess with a streak. And what happened?
You know what though? You don't mess with a good thing, and they threw in a matte black helmet. And how good does that fucking thing look?
They also had the jersey with it too.
Yeah, but I mean, it was just a regular helmet, and then they made it matte black.
But did they have a massive win streak going into that one?
Oh, I don't know. Probably they've had a win streak all season.
That's true.
This has been a season-long win streak.
Ryan? Have you been following along for the last 4 months? Yeah, I guess so. That's a good point. It's a season-long win streak. So anyway, they're wearing them for one more game, and then they're putting them up for auction. So I mean,
here's the thing. So like I was actually surprised when I got on Twitter and I saw the level of friction that was coming out of it. Like people just like scathing about how much they hate these things, like don't wreck a good thing, and then other people being like just nutty about how good they are. Right? There's lots of indifferent people too, but the people who were really popping off about it was just like, why even bother? Nobody asked for this, right? Like, I don't know, man. I like. This has been such a rigid team when it comes to trying out stuff like this. I feel like over the last decade and a half, like not interested in changing things around, like some of the most boring third jerseys that we've seen going. And if they're going to make small little tweaks like this, like making a matte black helmet, slightly updating the skate logo, doing a fun thing, like finally adding the Johnny Canuck or the electric blue helmets, like by all means, make these like little subtle changes and give it a shot and see what happens and what bad can come with it. It's not like it's the forever thing.
No,
it's just
we all know
change.
It's 2 games and they're done.
Yeah, I mean, what they could have.
It's like spring break.
They could have thrown out a green jersey or a green helmet just for the hell of it, and that would have been fine. Like
the green helmet would have made more sense.
It's not the forever thing. It's just for a little bit. Just relax. It's something fun, right? I don't know what people getting so up in arms about it. That caught me a little off guard. I don't know.
I
don't like change.
They should have done the green helmet. Let's be honest. That would have looked better.
I mean, that probably would have looked pretty good. Yeah.
Look for the future green helmet in Abbotsford, folks.
Yeah. There you
go. More than likely. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Remember I told you about the 53 seconds thing prior to last night's game? So it turns out it was 9 games that they carried that 53-second trailing, not 7, which is that much more impressive. And then they trailed, early on in last night's game. And of course, Pius Suter, is it Pius Suter? I don't even know.
Pius
goes off for a hattie last night, which is so awesome. Like that's what we all had on the bingo card, of course.
Does that solve our second line center problems now?
It must. One hat trick solves everything. Just so bonkers. I mean,
he's pretty good player. We got him for at least another year past this, right? So
exactly. I mean, that wasn't the major talk. Go figure. Hey, he gets a hat trick. I mean, he did hold court for post game, but everybody's talking about the non-call on the cross check. And Ray Hatt brought this up to me. We were here back and forth last night. I finally left it because I just didn't feel like arguing. But because who was it? Someone said that massive flop by PD. I'm like, well, I wouldn't say it was a massive flop, but it wasn't exactly. I don't think that was like Todd Bertuzzi getting cross-checked in the back. Like it was a shove. I'm sure it wasn't like gentle, but it wasn't like a cross-check. You know what I mean? It was a miss. I'll give you that. It's the game is so inconsistently called. So for me, I was more upset the fact that was kind of the end of it. But I mean, the one from against the Rangers, that was way worse. That was so blatantly missed. This one, they lost. I'm like, well, we got a point. Like it hit different almost. Not try to throw a pun in there, but it did hit a little bit different than the other one I found. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was a fairly clear penalty. I could see how you could let it slide and maybe not call it if you felt for whatever reason that maybe PD was like embellishing a little bit, which I also believe he was, right? But I think and I don't know how often this happens, and if you thought that he was embellishing it, it's almost like, well, that's a penalty. Call a diving penalty, right? But it's possible that two things can be true, right? I mean, I think you can cross-check a guy, and you maybe didn't obliterate him, but you cross-checked him.
Sure.
And the guy dove to install it and make it look worse than it was. Like, can two things be true?
100% they can. And that's what I said. I said I could have seen it as offsetting minors. And the game stops. You keep overtime going, and you don't decide the game on a question. It was a questionable call. Whether you want to say it was questionable because of non-call. Yeah, or whatever. Questionable non-call. It's a questionable call all the same. So do you err on this side? It would have been so easy to say, okay, we can't decide what it was. We're going to throw both of you off. Let's keep the game going. Worst case, this goes to a shootout and it's decided there. Then at least everyone is happy. Good, bad. Like, I mean, St. Louis is happy because they won. Not really. But they won a game where they got away with something. The Canucks maybe are mad, but at the same time, like they did steal a point in a game where they were flat until, like I looked
played for 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, we got 1 point. Let's be thrilled they made it to overtime. Like the way they made it to overtime, you're thinking, okay, all right, that's enough. Like let's get out of crazy town for a second here. Like it was awesome to see the way it ended, or to get to OT. But I mean,
yeah, to get to OT. Like I'm not thrilled about. I just.
Let's not hang.
You're in the defensive zone. You skate to the net where a guy is to cover him. You get cross-checked.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody around. The puck's not anywhere near you. I just don't think you can do that. Period. It's one thing to jockey for position or like push off, but it wasn't a push off. It was pretty clearly like a heavier than a light cross check, right?
I'm not going to say it wasn't a cross
it wasn't the most vicious thing that I've ever seen, right? But to me it was a non-call, and that happens this time of year, and it's in overtime, and if the ref makes that call, he's not impacting the game by removing an immediate scoring a chance, right? I mean, he cross-checked him, he then was not covered, he backed up, took a second, and then made a shot, right? It's like,
I mean, the game ended seconds later, so that in that case, it did affect everything.
Yeah, it's not like, he was cross-checked behind the play while a St. Louis player had a breakaway or something like that, and then made a call, right? I mean, so I think whistles go away. I think they're not going to get calls like that in the playoffs. That's pretty obvious.
Or it's going to go against them if they do.
Yeah, and I feel like, look, guys, like if this is the most adversity that you faced all season, is that you thought that you were unfairly cross-checked in the slot where maybe you embellished a little bit more than you should have, and you got beat by a team who probably doesn't deserve to beat you, but did in that game because you got your asses outworked.
Yep.
Well, there's your lesson. Who cares about the cross-check in front of the net? Was it a call or a non-call? Like, just it's about like gut check or self-check time, right? Like,
totally
have some self-awareness about why you're in that game and why that pivotal play mattered so much when it probably shouldn't.
Totally. Yeah. So getting into that, talking about gut check time, first of all, I mean, trade talks are still going on. Sounds like the Penguins are deciding if they're going to still be all in on what the Penguins are. Like, is it, I saw something today, like basically if they start moving pieces like Gensel, then the Crosby era is over. Like then they start taking apart this team. I don't think
I don't know. I think you could do like a quick flip and reacquire some players to help them out, but steady yourself up for next season.
So the other one was Quinn Hughes is going to bat for Chris Tanev to come back, which it feels like this is going to be an inevitable thing that's going to happen. And I mean, the nice thing is
it's not though.
I feel like it is though.
But he plays for Calgary. Like it's not. I know that we got Zadorov. Don't get me wrong here, and I know that we've made trades with him in the past. But
what do you think Tanev's worth? Just Chris Tanev. No Lindholm. Just they make a trade for Chris Tanev. What is Chris Tanev worth?
I don't know. What was Chris Tanev worth the entirety of his career when he was in Vancouver? When we seemingly talked about moving him almost every trade deadline before he was inevitably injured every season before the draft.
I feel like
the trade deadline.
Wasn't it like
a third, a second to Toronto was like a very popular guess, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're probably having to give up, a decent pick. I don't think it's going to be a first, but you're going to give up a pick or a prospect to try to get your hands on a player like that.
Who do you think, as a prospect, who do you think they'd give up if they don't give up a pick? I think they give up. I think this year alone, picks are absolutely on the table. Now where they sit.
Exactly. Picks are on the table because a Hunter Brstavich or a Lekaramaki or a Pettersson or a Willander, who I believe should somewhat be untouchable right this moment. They're probably better than the player that you're going to acquire with, hopefully the 30.
And you've developed them already. You've already
overall.
got a few years of development in some of these guys.
Yeah, in some of them. And I just think that those are going to be better. Those are going to be better players, or you're going to get a better player. And I think that that's going to be higher value for the team acquiring, right? And I think if you're the team acquiring, you're probably looking at getting your hands on the, double IHF MVP and scoring leader and a guy like Lekaramaki, right? And you're probably going to ask for Willander. And I think Brstavich is a bit of a dark horse, but I mean, he's obviously a stud player there, right? So they're going to have to package these guys because I don't think Vancouver is going to be interested in trying to give up a piece like a Podkolzin. You can't really move Höglander. He's a contributing player on this roster now. They kind of need him, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what they're willing to move, but I would rather be looking at moving draft picks. And I know I'm the guy that's been saying like, there's no circumstances we should be playing draft picks. But
this is so situational though. Like in this case, no one in their right mind. And I'm sure we joke. I mean, the big joke was if everything goes right, we could be a playoff team. Well, now it's if everything goes right, like we could be the President's Trophy winners, so I mean, that's a totally different scenario. So yeah, I absolutely think for this season, draft picks are on the table because you're already developing. I mean, you're 1 year removed then of a draft class.
So and I don't even think it's that
three, and you don't even have all three.
Exactly. 100%. I don't even think that it's that. I think draft picks are on the table. Draft picks are on the table, like unequivocally. And I think if you're the Canucks, like, I think you're playing your cards like Lekaramäki's not on the table. He's on the table. Like, you have to be able to move a guy that's not going to help your organization for 2 years down the road. Add a chance to win. Like these types of come so few and far between. Like I could end up
this way.
Yeah, I would definitely not want to make a trade for, a good or a high-end player or someone who's really going to help my roster in a bubble season where we just squeaked in. Like, no, that's not the time. This is a good hockey team. Like, it's surprising, and it's almost like they took the Vegas Golden Knights, architect move for building a team, which was,
throw a bunch of things together,
rebuild free agent heavy Island of Misfits stuff. And you go and acquire an impact player in Eichel and they've got impact players. And in fact, they've got three of them, right?
Later. The Misfits got their chance in the first year.
He did, right? But I mean, it's essentially the same type of roster, right? And they have a high-end shutdown player.
Yeah.
You got a high-end goal scorer or like complete player. And then you've got a high-end defender, and I think all three of those things exist on both teams. And then they've plugged in and built the rest of this roster out to accommodate high-end studs with veteran role players who understand their roles and positions and what they need to do for this team to win. And they're performing like it. I mean, these are not just schleps, right? Like Teddy Bluger. I mean, look where Teddy Bluger came from, right? I mean, we were just talking about Vegas. He's here now. That's the type of player who's won. You talk about Cole. That's another player who's won before, right? I mean, you're adding veteran studs with a coach that knows how to coach them, and you're not leaving these positions to be filled with young developmental players and even the backup goalie, right? I mean, we went from where we went with goaltenders to now having like a 32-year-old veteran backup who 100% understands the role and has like refined it to a point where they're happy to start him in any situation because he's proven he can play, right? And he hasn't just proven he can play in Vancouver. He's proven he can play over the length of his career. And that's, I mean, the guys that have proven it already and are working and are doing it in the system, this isn't out of nowhere. These guys are pro assassin veteran players.
I got an interesting one for you. Now, as we speak, as of this show tonight, the New Jersey Devils are 9th, which is like, they're right there. Like, they're right there. And they're going to be probably on that cusp for the rest of the season, which is surprising because they actually have a pretty good team. Is there, and I haven't looked at his contract, but I know he's got a couple years left. Do you see a scenario, and I might be speaking crazy. Do you know where I'm going with this?
I mean, I have an idea.
Do you see a scenario where they bring back Tyler Toffoli at the deadline?
I don't know.
Hear me out. So it's in saying it sounds stupid, and I get that. And it'd be, you're stupid.
No, because I don't think you're the person that said it before. But I mean, he has become a hired gun over the last few years, right?
So exactly, and that's all I'm getting at. So, and I'm just trying to go to cap friendly here. I know how many years does he have left on his contract? 4 years, 17 million, 2020. So he is Is he a UFA after this year?
2020.
Come on. Where's your freaking... Where am I here? Cap hit 2024. He's a UFA. Do you rent out Tyler Toffoli? I mean, you know exactly what you get out of him. You can add him. Now you can kind of play around with your first and second lines. You can decide if you want Petey to be a center or if you want Miller to, like, you know what I mean? You can now have that. You know there's chemistry there. You've seen it. We all yelled after the bubble run. You have a guy that knows your organization, knows now that it's the better version of probably what he would have liked to have stayed with. And you go in and it probably takes him a week to get the feel back. And you've now got a guy that, I mean, the fan base loves. I mean, there was no hard feelings. We were all pissed that he just wasn't here anymore. I don't know if that's a terrible idea. Now, it's super, super circumstantial because if New Jersey somehow goes, I mean, I think I saw, was it Jack Hughes is on IR now? So
is Hughes hurt? Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, if they don't even have to falter, but I think they have to look like, is it worth us making any kind of move? This is New Jersey. Is it worth us making any kind of move right now or at the deadline? Or do we still think that we've got a shot if everybody's healthy? I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they're a dark horse team that all they have to do is get in and they're, you know, unreal. I think that's one of the only things that's bugged me since that bubble run was that Tyler Toffoli left. And this would be such a unique circumstance for him to come back for a rental. You don't even have to keep him. You don't. We don't need him past this year. But to get something that you know and a proven goal scorer, and I mean, he was nothing but awesome in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, he's got playoff history. I mean, he's been on some deep runs. He understands what to do. He
was on a run with the Canucks. I'm just saying, like,
yeah,
he made a run with that team.
I get that. I think he's a right-handed shot. He's not small. I don't know how he's skating these days. Like, the Devils are a fast team, so I can only assume that he's still skating well. A 4.25 though, like, how do you fit that in? Like, you need to move salary off the roster. At that point, you're probably looking at moving, you know, are you going to have to pay them to take a Kuzmenko? And is he popping out of his, you know, rut that he's in? If somehow by, you know, the 20 games to go mark, he's out of his rut and he's playing lights out, would you rather have a Kuzmenko playing like he was playing last year, or would you rather have a Tyler Toffoli? Like, I think defensively, Toffoli is probably the more complete player, but sometimes it comes down to, like, what do you have to give out to? So I don't think Vancouver's out there actively thinking of Tyler Toffoli as their first choice, but yeah, I mean, he does tick a lot of boxes in terms of what this team could possibly need for a playoff run.
It's not the craziest thing I've ever said.
It's not crazy. No, like, I think I would way rather do that than go out and get my hands on a, you know, Patrick Maroon, who seems to be available at, like, every playoff deadline.
He's done okay for himself.
I mean, yeah, but that's I think I want to make sure that this team is keeping to, like, this sort of architect of,
I get what you're saying.
Team speed, and I think that he does check a lot of those boxes. Right.
I mean, Pat Maroon comes in, he just brings whatever ring he feels like bringing in that day. Just slaps it on everyone's look. He's like, "What ring is that?" I was like, "Does it matter?"
Yeah, I think
he brought in the new ring tomorrow too.
Yeah, I think Vancouver badly wants, if they're going to have to give up, you know, a pick and a player, or a pick and an asset to get their hands on a player. I think they want somebody that is possibly going to be a part of this team for the next year or two, right? Similar to, like, the Hronek deal.
Okay.
I don't know if Toffoli's that guy, right? I mean, it would be weird to see him come in again and then just leave in free agency for a second. What was that? Martin Ruchinski that did that with Vancouver 2 years in a row? Like, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. I mean, I won't discredit it.
Okay. I appreciate that. I hope you have one for this week. I haven't bothered to ask, but do you have a top five?
I can think of it for like 5 minutes.
Okay. So do I need to vamp for like 5 minutes?
I mean, is that the last topic, or are we talking about?
We've got stuff. I just, trying to keep it. I do have one, so you can
you
start.
do have one.
No, like I have a thing to talk about before that.
Oh, sure.
So next weekend is the All-Star game. The Canucks play on Saturday against Columbus, I believe, and then they're off for a week, which is, well, I mean, all the really good players are still going to be working, but they'll be going to the All-Star game. So Toronto, All-Star games in Toronto, as we all know, they're doing their, promotional tour, and they had, I really found this interesting, and I'm hoping you've seen, I sent you the picture, so I know you've seen it. They had, was it Thomas Caberlet?
It was Thomas Caberlet, yeah.
Parading around Toronto's subway system with the Stanley Cup, which, okay, he has won with Boston. But parading around in Toronto with the Stanley Cup, it seems a little bit, it's weird. It's weird. I saw him like, wait. First of all, and I couldn't remember that he won the cup for a second. I'm like, well, that doesn't feel right. And then I remembered, I looked, I'm like, oh yeah, he won with Boston, crap. And then I started thinking like, that's a really weird scenario. Like, yeah, he played for the Leafs. I get it. But like, hey, remember when you didn't win with us, but you're here parading around the Stanley Cup in the city that you did play in, but you didn't win. Like, it's just like bizarro. It's just so weird. It would be like Milan Lucic parading around the Stanley Cup in Vancouver if they hold the next All-Star game. Like, oh, we're going around SkyTrain. Like, no, we're not doing that, because that is not a good idea. Like, didn't someone not just decide, like, we want the Stanley Cup there, we want that idea, but I don't know, not a good idea. It just rubs me the wrong way. That's all I have to say about it. I was hoping you'd have some kind of a rebuttal, but maybe you don't.
I mean, it's so weird. It's fun. It is weird. I think
Weird is like the ideal word. I think you like embody weirdness when you're talking about it. It's perfect.
It just doesn't make sense, like it just doesn't make sense. It just seems like now that they've done that, we talk about, the chrome helmets and this and that. I mean, what if the Canucks busted out chrome helmets in like game 6 or game 7 of like a playoff run? Like, oh, they're finally ready.
I'm sure that's where they would do it too, right? They would wait till game 6 or 7.
And you would just think like, what are we doing here? So, I mean, parading around a Stanley Cup when apparently this team still is in a window to win, I don't know. That just seems doesn't seem like a good idea.
I mean, a window to win is a funny thing, right? I mean, we were talking about the Raptors, and it was a window to win, and they went out there and got themselves Kawhi Leonard, and then when they had Leonard, they went out and said, we need a big defensive center who can dish the ball and score us 10 a game, and they went and got Gasol. And I mean, they went and got the pieces that they needed, even though it didn't guarantee them the win, and they won the whole thing. And that's a crazy feat, and I would like to see Vancouver do that to some extent.
Like,
go out to get the piece that they need. And I was going to ask you, like, what, like, in order, and maybe this is the top 5.
Okay.
So top 5 in order.
Wait. Are we doing top 5 now?
Sure, let's do it.
Top five.
It's good. It's a good question.
So top 5 in order.
Oh, okay.
In order of relevance for the most important piece or pieces that you would add to what we think could be a Stanley Cup winning roster.
Just in general?
Yeah, you can only add one piece. Right? What do you want? Are you looking at, shoring up the 3C spot? You're going to go out there and try to find that Manny Malhotra. Are you looking at Nils Amon, right? I mean, I know we were talking to the chat, somebody trying to,
you need, because this could go all over the place.
Well, I mean, we're looking at, like, people are talking about being able to, like, upgrade over Nils Amon. I think our friend, Chris Phillips was talking about adding Jonathan Toews to this roster. And putting him on there as a 4C, right? I mean, I don't even know what kind of shape.
There's no way that would even happen anyway.
It wouldn't. But anyways, how do you prioritize? Does it go 4C, 3C, scoring winger, top 4 defenseman, one number, not like first line winger? Like, what is the order for you
number one.
And then
goaltender.
reasonings as to why, and start with 5, and we'll work our way down to 1.
Number one goaltender 5. Go trade for a number one goaltender. I'm just kidding. Like you probably need that. So number 5.
Number 5 being the first 4 deals that you really wanted fell through.
So right. So number 5 would be, and number 1 is obviously the most important, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So number 5 would be like, I feel like a hybrid fourth liner, not a hybrid 3-4, but a hybrid fourth liner that either he can be center or winger, and he's probably going to pot maybe 2 goals in the playoffs total.
So you're looking for a 2-goal scorer who can play center and wing
on the fourth line.
So like more of what we have then, right? You want a Bluger type. You're looking for like
just one more guy that we know that when our main guys need a rest, that it's taken care
of. Okay.
Yeah. That'd be. How about you? What's your 5?
I think I would be looking at I would be wanting to acquire like a 3C or a 2C like hybrid. Okay. And I want this guy to be like a physical, quality skating, face-off winning PK specialist. Like that's my first 4 things didn't pan out for me, but if I can do anything, I'm going to go get my face-off winning PK specialist, right? I mean, it's not a whole lot different than what Vancouver tried to do in their cup run. Mm-hmm. Inevitably losing Manny Malhotra and replacing him with like a Maxime or Max Lapierre, right? So Lapierre. Mm-hmm. So that would be, that type of player I think would be one more guy to have to sort of help keep the glue together as injuries start to inevitably happen.
Right. So that would be my 4. That's always the tough one, right? But that would be my 4. Would be that third. I mean, really, it's a third line guy, and he's going to usually be. I would say a lot of those third line guys, you're probably having a specialist, right? I mean, those are the guys that are on the PK or second power play. That if things aren't quite working with the main guys, that you've got that guy to fill in, and you're like, well, at least this is one of the main reasons we have this guy already.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think I really like. Yeah, I really like Oman. I love the way he forechecks. He's a big guy. Like he's not a heavy guy, but he's a big guy. There's reach. He skates so well, right?
Yeah.
I think the only problem with Oman is that he doesn't win enough faceoffs, right? I feel like you can't put him out there like first unit PK, right? I mean, you can't leave him out there for.
But lately, he hasn't had to. I haven't noticed a lot of 3C faceoffs. Really, it's been a lot of the top 2, right?
Yeah, and
it feels like in the last 10 games, but
I think you're really hitting on it. Yeah, I think you're really hitting on it, and I think that's part of the reason why.
There you go. Oh,
yeah,
that was a deep dive. Well played. Who's your 4?
My 4th would be I want another with games and with experience NHL defender or right-handed shot. Doesn't have to be a guy that's going to sit on your first 2 pairings. Maybe it's a guy who can play inside and out of the first 2 pairings if you need him to. And one name that I think of in particular that would be like, it would be pretty nice to have an Ethan Bear on the roster again. I although I really like Julesen's game and what he's done for the last little while, and it's crazy how good our right-handed defenders have been this year, Tyler Myers included. If one of them gets hurt, that kind of just funks things up a little bit, right? And I would like another, solid, sturdy guy. It doesn't have to be a banger, right? I want a guy who can like sort of skate well and move the puck good enough that is a right-handed shot to sort of keep that thing, continuity-wise running the same should one of those guys have to exit. And if it's, Julesen coming in because Carson Soucy's back, right? Or somebody gets hurt and he's got to come back into the lineup. If anything happens to anybody else, whenever we're looking at like a Friedman, right? Mm-hmm. And I want some games. I want some experience. I think experience for a lot of times wins out in the playoffs. And I want somebody who's got, if they don't have tons of playoff experience, I want them to have like lots of NHL game experience. And it's not something that's going to be new to them when they start seeing this stuff.
I'm going to steal before I go to, I feel like we're going to be teetering. Like you say your thing and I'm always one up from that. So what would it take? And I brought this up a few weeks ago. What would it take for Christian Wolanin to come in? Because he's their number 1 defenseman down in Abbotsford. He has, where am I looking here? Dude's got 3 goals, 19 assists already. a couple power play goals. I think, where is it here? One power play goal, points per game, 0.69. Nice. He's got 50 shots on net, or sorry, what's this shorthanded? SH shots, because they've got shots and shots. It's weird. Anyway, so that's 50 shots on the season. What would it take for him to get in to the lineup? Like, obviously, injury is the answer, but
Sure.
would it take a legitimate Noel Juleson injury for him to come up? Would it take two guys to get hurt? Like, Susie's already out. So would it take like Juleson getting knocked out and they bring him? I mean, do you take their number one defender from Abbotsford? Like, isn't that kind of the point? Wouldn't you want to have a guy like that? Like, the whole point is to progress these guys so that they move up, right? Would you not then have something that because you can kind of trust that and you'd have enough time to, and again, I'm sure I brought this up a couple weeks ago, you've got a little bit of time to trust even before the trade deadline. Would you make a consideration like that to have him up if there was any kind of, I guess, unsureness on the back end? Because I'm moving up. Defenseman is going to be my number 3. And I think it's kind of tough because if you're making a run, and this is always an interesting question, but it really depends on the kind of team. Like, are you an elite team? Are you kind of in the middle? Are you a bubble team that thinks that you have a few pieces that you could be a contending team? Do you just add a second pairing defenseman to just shore up that, just to make sure that you've got basically 2 pairs of second pairing defensemen and not any third pairing guys?
I think that they have 2 pairs of second pairing defensemen. I would wager to say that they're not full on 2D guys, right? But like,
It doesn't really matter
so much when you have Hughes and Hronek playing as much as they play, and then you have
Right.
Myers and Zadorov and Cole and Juleson himself leaning on guys throughout the game, right? So I think that if Wolanin was to get into the lineup, I think that they bring these guys in, not you're the number 1 defender on the farm, so you're the next guy up. Like, I think it's all based on roles, right? I think if a guy like Juleson gets hurt, then maybe the next guy we're seeing up is like a Cole McWard or a Jet Wu or somebody like another right-handed, right? And so if you look at their left-handed defenders on this roster and you're looking at like Hughes, Zadorov, and Cole, well, if any one of those guys gets hurt, you're now asking, more of an offensive defenseman or a little bit of a two-way guy in Wolanin to come in and fill the shoes of an Ian Cole. I don't really like it that much.
Doesn't
You know what I mean?
make sense,
I don't really like it if it's Zadorov, and we're pretty much fucked if it's Hughes, right? So if you see a guy like Wolanin getting in the lineup, it means that we're pretty shittered in terms of some sort of injury, right? So
Second pairing defenseman. That's my pick.
Yeah, a second pair defenseman. So I mean, another defender, right? And Juleson's on this team right now, and it's been fine. It's been good. He's been quality, right? It's a lot different when Carson Soucy gets back in the lineup, right? Like Soucy moves up, you pair him with Myers, and then you move Cole back down and you pair him with Zadorov, except for like those 2 deep pairings play very similar minutes, right? So it's not.
Can I just say something quickly? Can I just say something? I am pretty sure I have a Noel Juleson jersey card from Montreal.
There you go.
Just saying. Just thought you'd want to know that. I'm going to go look after the show.
I'm glad I know that.
Yeah, it's information you feel you needed. So that's great.
So yeah, you think they need a second pairing defenseman. So that means somebody's coming out of the lineup, right?
Well, I'm adding a second pairing defenseman in the sense, like I said, so that I continue to have solid second pairing defense, like kind of like what the Canucks were. They had.
You want to add another guy in the ilk of Zadorov, Myers, Cole, and Soucy.
I want another interchangeable guy where he can still eat minutes. He's just as productive, not getting
maybe
a lot of minutes.
Maybe like an Ethan Bear, like similar to one.
Yeah, I mean, good luck getting that after you just signed a 2-year deal. But
I know, but that type, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So second pairing defenseman.
Okay, what are we at? We've got 3 off the board.
3.
No, 2.
I've done 3. I don't know if you've done. Oh yeah, you've done 3. No, you haven't. I don't think you've done your 3rd because you asked me first.
Okay. Well, then, next spot here is, and it's really funny to say this, I think, after like the, Puis Suter hat trick last night.
Which is still great. If we just want to soak that in for a second.
I think it's the Lindholm thing, right? I mean, it would be really nice to get, Lindholm's not going to put up the numbers that he did in his big years playing with, Tkachuk and that type of stuff, but still an extremely serviceable, like defensively responsible center who can win more draws. And it's another guy that you can lean on that could probably fortify a line. And maybe Pius Suter is or, you know, maybe Pius Suter's done that to a certain extent. Maybe we don't know that, but we're literally on the middle of him catching fire and solidifying that second line, which is a different second line than it was, you know, the last little while, right? Especially moving, breaking up the Lotto line, right? Miller can go in and take draws. You can Suter take draws. You have Besser playing on that line, right? I mean, say they want to reform the Lotto line. Well, then it would look really good with like a Lindholm sitting in there in the 2C spot, Teddy Bluger, and then Suter could move down to the fourth liner. Bluger, you wouldn't want to do that, but it's just this idea of like one more centerpiece of depth, and it's a quality player. I mean, that would be pretty tremendous, I think.
Tyler Toffoli is my number 2.
Just your number 2?
Him. Literally him.
Okay.
He's my number 2 needed thing. I don't
so
care
you
what
you want like a
Toffoli.
second line scoring winger.
Yep. He's a bit gritty. He's done some things to the Canucks in the past on his way to his Stanley Cup, which it took me a while to accept that he was now a Vancouver Canuck and not an LA King, and that's fine. But Tyler Toffoli is my second. I'm going to be on that bandwagon until it's over.
Yeah.
Whichever team needs him, that's who you need to go get.
Okay.
Not even a generic positional player of a winger.
Tyler Toffoli.
Literally him.
Yeah.
Him. Literally him.
I think my next piece is probably a top 6 scoring winger. I mean, I can't really argue with you on that one. I think the only difference is that or adding a player like Lindholm. I mean, it's pretty close, right? I mean, I don't want them to go get an aging winger. That's why I'm a little bit hesitant on the Toffoli thing, although he only has 1 year, but I don't want them to go out and get, Tarasenko or something like that. Like, to me, that doesn't make as much sense as just keeping Kuzmenko.
Like Arash wants Claude Giroux, but he's a right winger center. He's still got 6.5 for a couple more seasons.
I mean, having Claude Giroux come in would be unreal, but like
that is some heavy bank. You have to get rid of Kuzmenko at that point.
What do you do? Like, what's Claude Giroux making?
6.5 this year and next year.
That's an incredible amount of money. That player would be pretty much a perfect fit, especially if it's like, the
I guess you bring him on in the sense that you're bringing him on as a rental and moving him in the off season.
Yeah. So that's your number 2 pick was Toffoli?
Yeah, that's right. I think you're onto your number 1 now, right?
Am I onto my number 1?
No, you're on your number 2.
Yeah,
I think you just said your top 6 winger. Isn't that or top 6 scorer? I think is what you said.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then I'm looking. I think you have to go out and acquire yourself like a matchup based shutdown center in like a Ryan Kessler side, and maybe that's Lindholm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But it's got to be like a younger guy at this point. I don't know if that guy is even out there. I think that this idea of being able to go out and acquire the top 6 winger, like that's going to be.
Who I like?
Tough, right?
JVR, and then I realized that Boston and him are doing well together, and JVR would not be a possibility.
I don't think that's going to happen either.
No, it's not. I was looking like, oh, that'd be fun. Oh, dang it, he's doing okay there, and they're doing okay too. It's a match made in heaven, whatever. So you're looking to find a guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I got an absolute beauty as my number 1.
Okay.
I guarantee I'm going so off the board on this one. It's not even funny. Not even remotely funny. But I'm gonna let you find your guy first. I'm gonna let you because
you want me to go?
Well, wait, didn't you? Do you? I went first, right? So I would be picking my first then.
No, I just said like a number 1 shutdown center, right? I mean, those players.
Was that your first? That was your first pick?
That was like my number 2, right?
Oh, okay. So now I'm on my number 1.
Like we're talking like, I mean, basically like a less offensive version of like a Miller, right? Or like a Stone or something like that. Again, these players, it's wish list stuff. Those type of players I don't think exist in terms of availability, but like that is the type of stuff that's really going to like put you over the top.
Like a Mason Marchment. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Like what do people say, right? Like, I know people would really like to go out and get themselves like an Adam Henrique or
a Faxa.
I've heard people talk about Steven Stamkos. Like,
it's doable.
Yeah, who knows, right? Who knows?
Very doable.
Are you on your second? Is that what's left?
No, I'm on my first now.
Okay, hit it.
The skate jersey. And now speaking specifically to the Canucks.
Skate jersey in the playoffs.
Other than that, we don't need anything else. We've named all the things that would make sense. And I think I'm going to speak specifically for the Canucks in this case. And I think the only thing remaining would be the skate jersey as their home jersey for the playoffs. And I think that alone, I mean, the fan base, I brought this up when they were going to fire Benning or when it was going to maybe happen. Just release the skate jersey, throw a smoke screen on everything, gets people talking. That would do it. You and I both know it. That would do it because you can probably add a few of those other pieces, but the skate jersey, I mean, it gets the people going. My humps, my humps, my humps.
It would be like an unreal thing to have in the playoffs for sure.
So they did it with the stick jersey. They did it with the stick jersey with Luongo and the Sedins and Trevor Linden back in that run against Dallas. The third jersey as the stick had just come out, and they made that as their home, I think, after like game 4, I think like game 5 and 7, they wore the stick, right? I'm pretty sure. Almost positive.
I think you're
right. They definitely wore it in game 7, but I'm pretty sure they wore it in games 5 and 7. So messed up stuff. I know. Like I said, I'm going off the board, but I think that's a good one. And that's sometimes the thing. Like, okay, so let's say it's not the Canucks, but let's say Colorado with the Nordiques jersey or something like that, or Carolina with the Whalers, or, I mean, go down that list. Boston with that third that they wore for their throwbacky jersey that came out.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, which is pretty sharp. Or who else? I mean, Pittsburgh with their reverse retro. Like, there's some pretty nice other options out there for a lot of teams, and those are one of those.
The NHL is like really pissy about that, right?
They are, and that's why you have to go through some hoops to make those things happen. But it's one of those things. It's not a player, but it's a feeling. And I know this sounds so lame, and I'm sorry, but we can all remember what that felt like. We can all remember because it was against the norm, and it got everybody into that same space of like, okay, they're serious about this. They want the vibe going, and it worked. It really did. I mean, that Luongo holding the stick up iconic photo after Game 7 when Linden clinched it with that extra goal and with a couple minutes left to go. I mean, there's just certain moments, man. And I'm telling you, you throw that out there, like it's just one of those things. It's just a little bit different, and it's a spark, man. I'm telling you, you come out game 1 in those jerseys because they're hosting.
It would be a light show. Like, it would just be.
It's. I know I hold dear to some of these things, but I'm serious. Like, that's one of those things. It works. It really, really works. And that place would be, I mean, come on, the first legit playoff game in forever. Fans in the stadium. Ted, you'd be crying. I'd be crying.
Oh, yeah.
Skate jerseys. Serious question before you get to your number 1.
Well, I'm going to have to think of a new number 1 because that was my number 1.
Oh, you're for real? That's awesome. That's why I like you. That's why we get along. Serious question. If they did indeed come out,
we can just agree that that's number 1 then.
Okay, that's fair. If they come out with that jersey in game 1, let's just say it maybe it doesn't leak, but it happens. They might not even come out with any of the buckets and stuff until the game time. First of all, they don't lose that game. First of all, that play, like game 1 is an absolute write-off. It's a win in the books. But they come out wearing the skate jersey, the matte black helmets, They've likely made a move or two. There's no way you can say that they're not all in at that point, that they've thought of everything. That would be it. That would be it. So anyway, there's my feel good rant for this week.
Can't argue with it.
That's all I got.
Can't argue with it.
That's all I got to say. What else? You got anything left?
No, I don't think
we
so.
talked about Thomas Caberlet. We're happy with that.
Yeah.
Like I said, they got one more game this week, and then it's All-Star break for the Canucks. I don't know what we're gonna do for a whole week. Maybe some All-Sport. You invited me to some All-Sport soon, or what?
Yeah, might. Well, now we have a bunch of players, so I don't know.
Oh, so I'm off the.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the call list. You're on the sub list. We'll try to keep the. We'll try to keep the Stanchi streak on the.
Right. Let's finish on that. So, Ted, you've been on a heater for the Stanchies.
Well, I think we've all been. Have we not all been mentioned the last little while in the last?
I don't think I was. I think I've just been mentioned on Twitter more than anything. By the way, that's at 5.3 thousand views. That.
Oh wow.
Quinn Hughes is in his edge work, if you will.
He's edging.
It's doing okay. It's an interesting situation that worked out for a tweet, but yeah, he's not too bad. And you've 2 Stanchies in a row. You're gonna for the hat trick on Saturday.
I have to try.
You're gonna throw in like an RJ Umberger tweet or something.
I mean, maybe if somebody just gets absolutely unloaded on at center ice.
Put that in the bank. Put that in the bank. You might.
Yeah, I mean, when you tweet 100 tweets a game, you're lucky to just hit on one of them, I suppose.
Yeah, you got to be clever. And you got to have a good following. You're doing pretty good. You're over 1,000 now. I'm still working on that.
It's tough. We're close.
It's tough. So, our boy Whit, great to have him on. Very cool. Very real story. Obviously, everybody go check that out if you can. I think he said the day before Valentine's Day, so we'll make sure we tweet out that link.
Yeah, we'll get those tickets. Yeah, maybe we can. Go ahead.
I don't know. I was going to say we'll just get the word out. That's all.
Yeah, we'll get the word out. Maybe we'll
that's what we do.
Try to get it on the platforms. Have you completely unrelated? I know we're just about to shut it down. Have you started watching The Bear?
No.
Oh, so good.
I'm just about. We're almost caught up on Westworld, and then I'm going to be done that. And then there's a show that it's like a mini series every year or two. It's called CB Strike. I don't know if you've seen or heard about it. Really, really good. Talk to you about it off air because it takes too long to explain. So I've got a few things. I've been watching The League a little bit at bedtime, which is still great. Very, very inappropriate and still offensive, but very good.
Still offensive, eh?
Still very offensive. Yeah, there's still so many things in there that words I can never utter in person. But no, The Bear. That's about the kitchen or something like that. So pretty legit.
Too legit
to quit. That's on Disney.
Yeah, Disney or I think FX.
Cool.
Yeah, super
I'll have to
good.
check it out. I gotta get through some stuff. So
it's only a half hour per episode too, which is
how many seasons have they done?
2.
That's doable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy for me to commit to a show when you recommend it. I recommend it to you, and it takes you 2 years to get through the final episode. So.
Well, I mean, I do a lot of my TV watching with Christy, right? So it's a little harder.
You got to break that bond, man.
I got to be like, you going to bed soon, babe?
You got to break that bond. At some point, you have to realize that they're going to cheat on you with shows. And you're going to find out about it.
She's going to cheat on me with Grey's Anatomy, and I think I'm just okay with that.
That wasn't what I was getting at, but I understand where you're coming from. That makes sense. So, wow, we had an hour and a half show. This is good.
Good.
Feels good to talk hockey again. It feels good to talk about a winning Canucks team. They're at 69 points, by the way, for the season.
Yeah, I did see somebody tweet that out.
That's great. It's very nice. So that's pretty much it for us. We're the PP1 podcast. We're on the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you also in part in concert. DraftKings promo code THPN. Go get your bet on. On behalf of my boy Teddy Wong III, assistant to the regional manager, I am Ryan, threat level Midnight Hank. Thanks for coming by. Go Canucks, go. Let's go into that final game before the streak on a dub.